So last night I was with someone who's going through some stuff in his mid-20s. A moment in life that I remember myself being at, to be honest, in my mid-20s. Like, the questions, the who am I, the hopes and dreams that seem to be facing inertia.
Yeah, it's just, maybe it's a universal condition as you're developing a life. I wonder whether it's actually a gift. I wonder if it's actually when you start noticing that you're having deeper thoughts, where the thoughts you once had, or the ideas, the boxes that you once had, the flower pots as it were, are becoming too small for you. And it's a difficult moment to realise that you've reached the edge of your pot. You don't notice the pot, like a plant doesn't notice the plot.
And feel like I'm losing the plot in these moments.
Very good, very good. What was I saying?
Flower pot, roots.
Yes, that's right. The roots don't have eyes. The trees, the plant doesn't have eyes, doesn't have a consciousness of how big the pot is until it hits the edges. And you can see that root structures, when they reach the edge, something changes in them. And that's why you can take a plant that is pot bound and the roots resemble the shape of the pot. And I think that's actually quite a deep image.
Ooh, yeah. Talk more into that.
Roots are all about nutrients. It's what goes on in a hidden place in order to enable the visible place to be healthy and strong and grow taller. And if your root system, if your source of nourishment, they're two different things, the root system and the source of nourishment. If the place of your source of nourishment is confined, your roots are going to try as hard as they can to bend over backwards, literally, to get as much nutrient as possible. And in a sense, it's the limitation of the pot that limits. It's like your tree in the living room.
Yeah, someone gave me a kumquat tree, and it's just stayed the same size. It hasn't produced any fruit. It produces leaves. It's sprouted a few more branches. It died at some stage, and I thought I was going to throw it away, and it sprang back to life one Passover, strangely. Yeah, but I love what you're saying, that maybe this is a description of these moments in our life when we reach the edge of the pot and we've exhausted the root systems within our life, within our consciousness, within our spirituality. We've gone back over the same ground again and again, and it's exhausted us. We're ready for a bigger pot.
Yeah, and I don't know what the bigger pot looks like, but I think God knows. He is the gardener. He is the person. I say person because we're not talking about an energy or a universe that we don't relate to. We are talking about a personal relationship with a living God. That's the reason why he is called Yud-He Vav-He, which is in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. And it also means it's a version of that Hebrew verb to be. It's I will be, almost, with a yud at the front, which is the prefix. There's all sorts of conjecture as to what it means, but it's kind of universally amongst scholars. It's a version or a resemblance of the verb to be. So its being is all about living. That's the movement of being. So I wonder whether the picture of the pot is actually quite useful.
Yeah, that is. Thank you. Thanks for going into that, because exactly what a picture. And maybe that's what it looks like as a metaphor, because nature is always a metaphor. The limitation of how tall you are is the box that you are in. And if it's a smaller plant, a small flower pot is enough. But if it's a taller plant, like a tree, say, it's not going to ever become its full potential in that pot. And it's going to experience these pot-bound moments of limitation. And maybe these people who go through these moments of questioning, deep questioning, maybe deep letdown is all part of this. Maybe that's what we're talking into as a gift. And this is where it transitions into something I heard this person say. And I love it, absolutely love it. It reminded me of something that's going on in my life at the moment. He said about authenticity. He's not willing to not be authentic. He's not willing to pretend. You know, he came to faith quite dramatically, and he learned about God, and it's his whole family actually came to God, and it's been great. But I wonder whether he's getting to a point where he wants to ask, he's feeling like this construct isn't enough anymore. I know that sounds heretical. I know that's like, there's always a truth in don't forget your first love. Come back. But I think that's got a context that's often put out of context. The first love in the Bible is a covenantal idea, and it's, especially I'm thinking of Revelation with the community of Ephesus, and a lot of the community of Ephesus there had sacrificed their standing in the social circles and the economic circles in order to leave behind what was very visceral in those days. We don't quite have this in these days, maybe yet, I don't know. These temples, Olympian temples, it's really pagan stuff, in order to embrace the God of Israel. And it's similar to a lot of the conversions or the turnings that are happening today, especially on the back of 2020, when people are waking up and they're seeing things. And the zeal within that is what is sparking a lot of a real life transformation. And I know many people who are in that boat. But it comes to a point where things become rigid and concretized, and the Ephesus community were doing things right. They were standing firm against things, but something of the spark had gone from them. And I just think that the pot of waking up and this system is corrupt and we are coming out of this, out of Babylon, out of all this stuff, which, yeah, that remains a core tenet of the foundation of the people who I know who've come out of that. But there are moments when, to be honest, all of this, if you can consider all of this as nothing, as we're talking in Ecclesiastes, all this is actually vapor, meaningless. It's vanity. And that's got the weight, I've said this before, of Cain and Abel. That's the first time we see that word used, and it's Abel's name. It's Hevel, which means breath. It's just completely, it's within the balance of, very briefly, his name was appointed, and we were saying that there's a lot of realization with Eve, especially who named them. Maybe Adam named them, I don't know. But Cain was appointed, and there was this idea that the consciousness was that I have given birth to a man, and he's going to be appointed to be that promise that we had in the conversation we had with God in Genesis 3 before we left the garden. We're going to come back, and the second son, it seems maybe by that time the second son came along, and she's naming this son after her, or they are naming their son after what's happening in their consciousness at that time, vapor. I mean, why would you would name your first son appointed? That seems to me quite hopeful, and he is the appointed one, and so it's going to be okay. And then when you get to the second son, you've lost a bit of hope in that possibility, and you name your second son maybe vapor, and what's the point, and vanity, and maybe their experience outside the garden over the years has really caused that to happen to them. And I think that really describes the pattern here with the first love and losing that first love as you realize the vanity of everything anyway, and you're doing the right thing, but you lose a bit of the hope of I don't know what I'm trying to talk into there.
That's brilliant. I love that contrast and how that kind of reveals that. The vanity kicks in. You find something amazing and you have hope. Cain is pure hope in the midst of an outside of the garden situation in terms of your interpretation there. And then vanity comes along And Cain turns into a murderer. I mean, you can't... What does it look like for that zeal, that drive, that first love to actually become murder?
Yeah, it's through the lens of the crouching at the door things that were rising up within Cain, which isn't necessarily sin. It's this visceral... We were talking in terms of... yesterday we were with my friend who's just come back from somewhere, and we had a good conversation about the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara, the inclination for Ra within us, which is a deviation from Tov. The Yetzer Tov, the inclination for good, and good in terms of biblical understanding from creation is it's the alignment of God's purposes with what he sees being replicated. That's why he says after every day of creation, that is good. It's exactly what I wanted to happen. Thank you very much. Next day. And then we see the combination of Tov with the seeds. And that's now we have the good. But now there's the potential for multiplication of that hidden within the DNA of seeds. It's the autonomous progression of the idea of Tov, the idea of reflecting the mind of God in perpetuation of creation. Now, those are big words, aren't they?
They are big words, and we might need a dictionary sometimes when we speak, because it's been the lingo that we've been talking within, and we do apologise. But slow it down, listen again.
Yeah, sometimes I have to. When I listen back to these, I think, sorry, what are you saying? And you have to listen to it again. We are saying stuff. You just have to believe that sometimes. But where were we?
Well, you were talking about your friend, and before we pressed record, you were talking about the idea of authenticity.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's brought me right back. So I really, really loved the way that this person is like, I want to be authentic. I can't be dealing with pretending. I can't be dealing with having a faith that is spoken and worn like clothing, but it's not my authentic self. And love that. And I think that's a gift. And I think that is a drive. And I think that speaks into the pot-down nature of where this person is at. And I remember being there myself. My faith has moved on so much through so many pots. I can't go back to that moment when I had those moments of questioning. It's like something I can't help. It just happens. And I think it's because when God sees that you're taking root, and I was. I mean, it's real. The relationship with him was real. And it flows through you, and I felt God's presence. He can also see that, when you feel that to the depths of your soul, it's a real thing within you. And I think it's a gift that when he takes it away, you realise you can't pretend. It's not real. The source of water within you that seems to have dried up is an indication that you desire that water, that you need that. You can't pretend to yourself, you can't pretend to God, and you don't want to pretend to those around you. But what do you do about that moment?
Very tough moment, isn't it? Very tough. But I think authenticity is the seed of Tov within that person, within you when you're in your 20s, within me when I went through times in my life in cyclical ways.
Yeah, and it is cyclical, and I've come to this point again and again and again on different levels, and it's felt different every time. But I remember the first one, I just lost this ability. I almost went into depression. I lost this ability to feel God's presence. And I remember specifically, it was the Delirious album, Glow. It was about August, early 2000s, in my mid-20s. And there's one particular track, I Lift My Eyes to You, Intimate Stranger, and that whole album just brought me to life again. I don't know why. It just happened. And it's nothing I can control. And I came back to life for a long time after that. And I had a little blip every now and then, but I was back. But then it happened again, and again, and again, in many different areas of my life. And I was struggling with things at the time, really asking the real questions as to why. Noticing the sin. And when I say sin, it's the missing it. It's I feel like I'm not aligning somehow inside. I remember in my late teens, things I was just doing, whatever, I didn't even think about it until one day when I woke up to it about 17 years old, maybe earlier, 16, 15. I woke up to it and I thought, hang on a minute, this isn't right. There's something very wrong about this. It's very strange and I'm not going to go into it, but it's very strange to wake up to that. And it really affects you on a psychological level when you realise, oh no, I'm stuck. This is something that kind of used to be okay, now it's not. For some reason you get this consciousness, and the sharpened consciousness then creates a split within you, and you have to deal with that split. And as we know through the scripture, the split points are very important points, and we talked about one of them being that word split in the Hebrew is very important. The great deep in Noah's flood, they were split open and the fountains came out from down below. Then the split at Babel, there's another split point. And then the split with Abraham taking his son Isaac up. There's that word again. It's this trajectory of reaching a state, and we talked about the Tower of Babel being an adolescent state for humanity. Something needed to happen, and they are very difficult times there where and this is what God gave the answer very briefly, in the answer of nutrient. Their language needed more nutrient to it, and the Hebrew word that we usually see as it's balal, as to confuse the language, is actually, from some research that we've looked into actually it stemmed from my Hebrew teacher, but later on in the Bible it's used to mix into a cake, to make a cake, to mix together and make something new from that ingredient. It's mixing action, and it's also, that word can mean to fertilize. And at these moments, we are crying out for fertilization. And in a way, it kind of links with the whole pot idea. This is why I went into that a bit, because it's really plant language, this, isn't it?
We learn a lot from nature, don't we?
Yeah, God's put it there on purpose. Now, talking to someone this morning when they were hugging a tree, the people I hang out with, they felt the tree burdened with the longing for the sons of God to be revealed. They want the kingdom on earth. They want a freedom that they know is coming. And wow, gosh, that was what I woke up with, a dream and a song with most of the words in place, which is, it happens. It's more the rare occasions when I get the words as well. But sing over here, because the flowers, they want to hear the sound of freedom breaking out here as we sing. Sing, O Son of God, over here for creation. Creation is something longing to hear. The Son, and then the chorus is the sounds of the sons of God being revealed. It's that Romans verse. And it's this dream of these flowers that were there on the path, and I was leading a time of worship. And someone said, sing more over here. We want the flowers to hear, because this is whatever's going on here in this worship session is a breaking out or an expression of the sons of God being revealed, as God is by his Spirit transforming us through the Spirit of Messiah as we're singing together about that and being transformed by that. Wow, crazy stuff. I went off on one there, didn't I?
You certainly did. But I just like to talk into that it's the pattern of that we maybe experience in our lives. The longing within us for the revelation of the Son of God in a patterned way, in a step way. It's messy, and I'm just thinking into the conversation we had about the stones at the end of the Mount Sinai experience. We get that little hiatus in the text where it just talks about when you build an altar, make it of earth. And if you do use stones, just don't hewn them, just make them just stones from the environment around you. And it's like, let life happen as it happens, as you step up towards the encounter with God. Just let life happen as a catalyst to go up as it is. Don't try and shape it to your understanding. And that just kind of reminded me of that, as you said, the revelation of the sons of God. I didn't see that as one moment. I saw that as a cyclical moment.
Yeah, wow, I never saw it like that before. So it's like, I suppose a lot of things we think about in terms of linear time, and we don't even realize we're thinking within linear time, but there's always a cyclical way of seeing it. And yeah, okay, these moments we hit the flower pot hedge, it's very important to recognize that an upgrade is coming, and there's something within you crying out, groaning even, for the revelation of the Son of God that you are in that pot-bound moment.
Yeah, I love that. I wish you could repeat that.
You know I can't.
Usually the case, isn't it? So, so is that all?
It is to do with that person, and I just think the authenticity is a great thing to hold on to. That is like treasure within. If your desire is for authenticity, hold on. That is so important to keep hold of that and never ignore that and never try and drown it out. It's easy to drown it out with substances or whatever, but just don't allow that to disappear from you. Don't think also that is something bad. That's actually a gift, and that's actually your driving force, because that desire from that place is actually planted in you. This is what I'm saying, and I totally believe it. By God, there's this desire for authenticity. You can see maybe you don't see, but maybe there's a seeing deeper within you that is crying out. And as you grow, you realize where your environment is not allowing you to be authentic. Your experience is not allowing you to be authentic. And sometimes you can give up on your dreams. And maybe your dreams, let me say this, maybe your dreams, your visions, your desires in those moments you think are aligned to the authenticity that you're feeling, groaning within you. But we've got to realize, and I've noticed over my life in different stages, you've got to realize that the dreams, desires that look like something, they need to be seen as temporary. A desire for something can look like something in my 20s, when that same desire can look very different in my 40s. And that's 100% what's happened to me. What I wanted to happen now has morphed. One example to help is this dream when in my 20s I had a dream of a church that had a pastor, that things were really good and it was really working. I even I had a dream about it, literally. And I woke up with it, and it's been my driving force for a long time. Then I opened Leviticus and saw something bigger. And that dream is totally not going to be fulfilled in the church anymore. It's something bigger. It's community. It's the Moedim. It's Jubilee. It's a community that are actually living on the land. This was a church, like a big glass-based church in the woods, where people came to as a central location. That may be still part of it, but the bigger vision for me was, no, it's agricultural. No, it's living community. So that desire has found a new home, a new pot, talking in pot language, to grow. And within that, I feel a groaning, the same type of groaning, of hopes not realised. But I lean into the trajectory of that hope, that desire within me, and maybe it's going to remorph into something bigger, better, more true to what it truly is. That's the best example I've got at the moment. Maybe marriage is another one.
Yes, that is a big, big one, the desires, hopes, dreams. And when you look back over your life, you may be able to see where you've been living life, and that which has been driving you from your desire base, that foundation of flow within you, of that's the thing that generates those desires, those God-given desires and passions. And remember, this is a driving force within you. It can turn into, as we were talking about earlier with that conversation with your friend, Yetzer Tov or Yetzer Hara. It's still inclination. And there we go. That's another whole conversation about the energy of God planted within us. can morph into all sorts of things. But yeah, as you go over your life and you look back, you may have already manifested your desires, those God-given inclinations within you, for God, for good, also for evil. They may look like things you've done that have an outlet, that are misaligned with God's intention. But look back where they have actually been aligned to God's intention. They may not be fully what you wanted, and maybe because of what you wanted is something that has filled your vision, your hope box, as it were. You haven't noticed that you've actually been fulfilling it. I mean, for what you've mentioned with you wanting a family.
Yeah, I mean, my desire has been to have a family. Yeah, okay, yeah. And yeah, I've said it in another conversation, haven't I, that I have been a male figure for many women who needed a male figure at that time. And I've been a father to many children who I wasn't their father, but I have been a father figure. I've been a brother figure. You know, all these things that I have desires for within to be, I have been them. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, because that leans into my thing I wasn't going to say, but since you said that, I might as well.
Pushing it all out. Go on.
I was thinking in terms of myself, authenticity. And this is very personal, and I just feel I'm going to say it. I don't know whether I delete it. But in terms of relationship, the authenticity in past relationships, it's something within me isn't lining up. And you can't hide that, especially in relationship. It's the most intimate form of relationship you can get, male-female relationship, you know, when you're seeking to move towards marriage, seeking towards making a family, you know, all that stuff. Put it in terms very simply, but this goes much bigger, but just doesn't, let's call this a metaphor, because it won't sound like a metaphor when I say it, but actually it is, because I know there's something bigger than this, and we tend to idolize this. So attractiveness and the spark, you know, that kind of romantic spark. In a sense, I equate the authenticity with the spark. You got a relationship with someone, it's good, but when it comes to that level, there's a spark needed. And I saw that one time years ago is the triangle of the spark, the friendship, and the spiritual. You need to be really good friends. You need to be spiritually compatible. But the third one was the spark. In order to move on into the relationship that goes towards marriage and that whole depth of relationship, the spark was the extra bit that all other relationships had the other two, but the spark was the extra bit. And it's when I came to the point where I realised the spark wasn't there that the difficulties happened in relationships with me. And I just kind of equate that to the idea of authenticity on that level. I could not truly be myself on the spark level with another person. There is nothing wrong with the friendship.
Yeah, you do need the spark. It's just, maybe it is the modern world, but yeah.
We don't live in a culture of arranged marriage, and there is this idea of that love grows. Hey, culturally we haven't been privy to that road. That it's very difficult to walk that road in a culture that's saturated by the romantic spark mentality. But hey, God's given it, and it's all encompassing. It's intoxicating, to be honest, and that's what Solomon talks about. It's real, folks. But yeah, I've had moments of spark level of things driving me forward in I don't know, that kind of level of loving someone has worked its way out in positive ways. I can't describe it. There's no way I can put it into words, really. But it's that kind of drive. You know, when you fancy someone, you'll do anything for them. You will drop what you're doing. You just want to be with them. You just want to be in their presence. And I felt that in many different ways. Even in community, this feeling I just want to be there. Do you get what I'm saying?
You're saying it's not necessarily romantic. That's the ultimate expression of it, but it has expression in other areas of your life that you're passionate about. Well, like music, I suppose.
strangely, the creativity is on the kind of similar level of energy within me. And I've just stayed up all night, till the early hours of the morning. Just addicted to being in the presence of creativity that's coming through me, Yeah, totally. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So there we are. When you hit these moments in life, pay attention to how you're feeling. Pay attention to the drives. Pay attention to the desire for authenticity and discern. Open your mind to discern what authenticity is crying out for in those moments. And I think in doing that, you will find the real you. I think we are uncovering that our whole lives. And I think our whole lives, God sees the real us. And that is what he is. That is who he is really interacting with when he develops us. Like a father with a child. They see that child. And it's quite useful with my nieces and nephews and other children in communities that I've been privileged to be able to input into lives. When they're children, you kind of see them. When I look at some of the youngsters that have grown up, I know who they are on a level that I don't know other adults, as they turn into adults. There's something about them that I know deep down who they are. And I am driving to draw that out. Teenagers, they go quiet. Teenagers, they get grumpy. I know they do. I know that's hormones. I know that's change of brain wiring going on. And as they become adults, they enter into the world, the working life. But it's like I see who they really are from the child level. And when I'm talking to these people who have grown up now, I know who they are and I speak to that person. And it's awkward. I can't say it's not awkward to draw that inner person out from them that I know they are. One person who is the most intelligent, bright person. He was the most intelligent, bright kid. He had a heart of gold. He wanted, I could trust him to be aware of things that adults around would not be aware of. And he was very astute. As he grew older, he's fallen into depression. He's fallen into loss of hopes and dreams, into a wandering state. It really is excruciating for him. But I see the real person he was. And it's awkward too, but I don't know how to do it, to be honest. But with some people, it's more difficult. But anyway, when I pray for him, when I bring him to God, when I hear of news of the latest trauma he's gone through, to be honest, my heart goes out to that pure, innocent, transparent seeing of him that I've been privileged to experience. And they were effective prayers, I feel, when I pray into who he really is and who I think God really sees. I don't know why we went off on one of them.
Useful, isn't it, though?
Yeah, wow. It's lovely to think that God sees the true essence of who we are and he deals with us on that level, just as I've been describing that. He sees us from before we were born. Like he knows who we are from who we were before we came here. Really, truly a part of himself. And that's the true reality of who we are. We are part of God. We are not just, we are God fractured. It's, and some would say God learning. And it just gives me so much comfort to know that his fatherhood, his wisdom in walking with me is based on that deepest of knowledge of me, the real me that I don't even know myself, that I may have. Forgetting is very powerful. And that I may have forgotten about myself.
I think that's enough. Let's not speak anymore.
I think you're right. Carry on with the conversation. We're going to press stop now. Just remember the word authenticity. Chew on that for a while.